Welcome to another episode of Pound for Pound Boxing Report. Episode 442 after being off last week. Just scheduling conflicts on all of our parts. We are back. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me, per usual, Gail from nyfights.com, Daniel from Forward Boxing News, and the Inscriber. What's going on, lady and gent?
It's been a wild week. I think we might have a wild weekend. Let's talk about it.
Say that again for the people in the back. For those who are new to Pound for Pound Boxing Report, Pound for Pound Boxing Report, live YouTube, show, podcast, blog, etc. Site, etc. Talking all things boxing. The motto is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, excuse me, if it pertains to the sweet science, it will get discussed. If you want to find out any and all info on Pound for Pound Boxing Report, please go to the site p4pboxingreport.com. And repeat that again, p4pboxingreport.com. If you wish to email us with any questions, thoughts, etc., do so at p4pboxing at p4pboxingreport.com. Also on the site, you'll find links to where to catch Pound for Pound Box Report latest stuff, our social media stuff, the link to the YouTube channel, the links to the Twitter, IG, uh, IG page. Also links to where to find the show on the podcast realm, whether it's Anchor, whether it's Spotify, whether it's um, Apple podcast, because Google Podcast is no longer existing. It shut things down earlier this month, a couple of weeks, maybe a week or so, a couple of weeks ago, excuse me. So wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, you should be able to find it on Pound. You should be able to find the Pound for Pound Box Report. If you want to donate, for those who are put in their taxes and getting their money back, if you wish to shoot some coin our way. Wouldn't matter to us if it's $5, $2, $1, whatever you would like to contribute. We will be eternally grateful. It'll help the overall production behind the scenes. If you're checking us out on YouTube, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. It'll help the overall algorithms. You'll get also and subscribe as well. You'll get notifications on future episodes of Pound for Pound Box Report. Last but certainly not least, for fitness enthusiasts, my fellow fitness enthusiasts, hit the link to BODI that's on the page, formerly known as Beachbody on Demand. Um, Programs for any and all suitable fitness interests and goals. If you're looking to lift weights, check out programs like Lift 4, Lift More, Body Beast. If you're looking for CrossFit, hardcore functioning type of workouts, there are programs like 645, 6 weeks of the work, Chop Wood, Carry Water, the P90X series, 1, 2, and 3. They're still really, really good. If you're interested in that, so are the Insanity Asylum series. If you're looking for a boxing specific program, check out 10 Round. That is a 6-week program, 3 days of boxing based cardio, 2 days of resistance weightlifting. At the very least, you want to take advantage of the 14-day trial, and that's for 14 days. You get free access to any and all programs on Body, including the sample workout from the soon to be released Dig Deeper weightlifting program, which is set to uh, be public for everybody to consume later on this year. Let's get things going. Recapping what was kind of a light week, highlighted by the return of Jared Big Baby Anderson. Gail, we've talked about him numerous times, not just based on what he's done in the ring, but unfortunately for the troubles he's been in the past few months, been arrested twice. Return in the ring, return to fight a quote unquote cruiserweight champion, Frenchman by the name of Mehry. And I only got one word to describe this about: boring. Anderson, he got the win. He was in control throughout, but the Frenchman offered little to no resistance. Uh, it seemed like Anderson, he didn't have the creativity to really dominate, to kind of force a stoppage, if you will. As a result, you had booing throughout the contest, and there was a lot of criticism toward the real Big Baby's way after what was a 10-round decision win, I think it was. Um, Tank Davis, in a now deleted post on social media, had some stinging criticisms of Big Baby. there are others as well throughout the boxing community, and it has folks asking, when will we see the real Big Baby Anderson in the ring against someone who could really test him? He's ranked what, top 5 across the board at heavyweight. It's high time that Top Rank step up the level of competition.
Well, that would be nice if they could. Let's think about it. Who's out there for him? All the top names have dance partners. All the top names are fighting in Riyadh for Saudi money. He has fought better opposition moving up. The problem is they aren't necessarily resulting in better fight performances. He's winning and he dominated this fight. 2 of the 3 judges had it a shutout. The third, for some reason, gave Ryad Mehry the 10th round, a round in which he was outlanded 2-1. So either that judge had fallen asleep because it was such a boring ass fight, or gave him a mercy round, which is, sort of a sarcastic thing to do if you want to look at it that way. Listen, Mehry came there with one objective. He had fought all his previous fights in Belgium. He's actually Belgian, not French.
Excuse me, excuse me, Belgium.
Number 1 ranked heavyweight in Belgium, however, but he is a blown up cruiserweight. He had taken a fairly significant loss to Arlen Gulamarian, who is the fighter with the title that Zurdo Ramirez just beat to win that belt. So that kind of tells you where he's at. He came to get his payday and survive. It's rare that we see a fighter there for a paycheck in such a blatant manner. And what a lost opportunity. If somebody like Mehry puts on a good performance, he'll be asked back. Think back to how well Lemos, the Argentinian, performed against Richardson Hitchens. Now, he lost, and a lot of us thought he lost a very close fight that he should have gotten on the cards. But he put on such a good, strong, entertaining, pleasantly surprising performance that Eddie Hearn made it clear he'll be back. And who wouldn't want to see him again? They should make sure that Ryad Mehry never again gets a visa to come fight in the United States. No, thank you. Send him somewhere else. Send him back to Europe. He can fight there. But the bigger problem is, what do you do with Jared Anderson? What do you do with him? Well, who do you put him up against? He is ranked high. All the other names are busy. The only thing Top Rank can do is try to find decently ranked available opponents, the best opponent available. The problem is the pickings are slim. Do you put him in front of some old warhorse? Do you make a call to the Pulev brothers? Do you call Dillian White or Derek Chisora? Please don't do that to us. There are very few American heavyweights that he could go up against. Maybe you put him up against Guido Vianello, who had a pretty darn entertaining fight in the co-main with Efe Ajagba and lost, but lost with honor, right? Lost with a decent effort. Top Rank's not going to match him up with Ajagba. They do not want to cash one of these guys out that soon. Richard Torres is not on this level, and he's too small for those guys. I would really like to see him be able to make cruiserweight. I just don't think that's going to happen. So, they have to tread water. They got to kill time and see what happens to Anderson. But my bigger concern is not his performance in the ring. It's his well-known indifference, seemingly, to being a professional boxer. He only does it because he's good at it and he can make money. He doesn't love it. This sport is too tough if you aren't 1,000% committed. And maybe it's because Saturday night he was thinking about what he was going to need to do Monday, which was he had a court appearance. He's got some fairly serious charges in front of him in Nevada. So he's going to need to get through that. then let's see what happens next. I'm not willing to give up on him yet, but I am now less than enthusiastic and a bit of a skeptic where he's concerned. He needs to win me back.
For me, Daniel, I'm not talking about a top five guy. That would be nice, but given what's going to happen in July, a lot of those top heavyweights are have their dance card full. I'm not talking about a heavyweight on the back end of their career like a Pulev or Dillian White. Martin Bacoli uh, has had some nice wins. He's talking about he could whoop anybody in the division. Okay, he's out there. I don't think he has an opponent lined up. Let's see Top Rank try to make a fight between Anderson and Bacoli. That's a decent enough scrap as far as I'm concerned.
That's probably the most realistic one, mainly because, like you mentioned, a lot of the guys that you would figure to be tested either have fought recently, so it's probably too soon to do training camp for them, or are in getting the training camps now because they have a dance partner. And unfortunately, Miller did himself no favors when it came to this fight. Now, Miller, let's make it a point. Like, yeah, he came in to collect the purse and to not get knocked out. But it should have been Big Baby's job to make sure that, oh, you want to survive? No, I'm going to knock you out. Your point is to make a statement, even if you know your dance partners are full, and even though you know that your name has been more spoken about for out of the ring foolishness than in the ring excellence, that then is your time to actually shut the skeptics up and focus on getting people looking at your attention. And unfortunately, Miller did none of those things. And the bad part about it is, like, yeah, he looked good as far as the jab. It's very rare nowadays for heavyweights to start using the jab as effectively as Anderson did that night. But the bad problem is, unfortunately, there's not a lot of room to test, and not to mention, you do have to take his off the court shenanigans into account. Whether it's the actual charges, whether it's the response to ESPN acknowledging those said charges. And let's not forget, he did mention that he's not planning to stay in the sport for the long haul. So I could feel a little bit of hesitancy from Top Rank if they don't want to fully invest in a guy that is already getting a little surly, maybe starting to get in trouble outside, and overall may not have fully been invested. So that's the key factor. Now, this Coli's a reasonable fight, but yeah, if you want to do Dillian White, I can see you doing Dillian White, but it's either get that fight quickly, which activity is key, or wait until the loser or some of the other fights come in and be ready to go in. But that does leave Miller with idle time, and he's proven that lately that's not a good thing for him.
Just a disappointing, excuse me, night overall. Not only by Merely but also by Big Baby. We you should we he should expect better for himself. Given his talent, he should do better by himself, given his talent. And lately, given his actions outside the ring and as well as his comments, you wonder uh, about his future. There are serious questions about him at this point. Let's move on to some news because there's a lot. I mean, a lot of news. Uh, Going back to you, Gail. This is kind of a two for one. Um, in Dubai, well, in Saudi Arabia, right? big announcement, two events, really kind of two things in one. First thing, the official announcement for Artur Beterbiev, Dmitry Biviol for undisputed status at 175. That's going to happen on June 1st. As part of that card, right? You had the announcement for the Matchroom versus Queensberry 5 versus 5 roster. Interesting names, right? You had Hergovich announced to fight Dubois. You had Ray Ford, featherweight champion, who was announced, who after he won the belt was talking about moving up to 130. Nope, he's staying at 126 to defend his WBA belt against Nick Ball. The biggest announcement, really, to the surprise of many, Zhili Zhang, he's fighting who? Deontay Wilder. Uh, what do you think of this entire event that's going to happen in June?
Like it. I find that the undercard structure is very interesting. You know, there's a little gamification, a little bit of competition added between the two promoters. You know, much has been made of the Saudi money bringing together Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn, Queensberry and Matchroom, who have been rivals and not all that chummy with each other for years. And it goes way back before Eddie to his father, Barry, along with Frank Warren, who's been in the business, I think he said 47 years, something like that. Now, because the money is there and they've got the talent to make it happen, they're working together. And they were pretty candid that, you know, they're never going to be BFFs, really. But you know, they have a shared purpose now and there's enough money to go around, and that makes everybody friendlier. The current undercard, which is essentially teams of 5 fighters in 5 weight divisions chosen by the man with the money, Turki Al-Sheikh. 5 Queensberry fighters are matched up with 5 Matchroom fighters in weight divisions where they've got competitive guys kind of at the same level available. So got some really good matchups. And how interesting that they have put this heavyweight co-main in as one of those 5. Now, after the last card in which Joseph Parker rather surprisingly defeated Zhili Zhang, and the absolute rubbing that Wilder took in his fight, this is a loser goes home fight that's been talked about ever since. You know, what do you do with Zhang? What do you do with Wilder? Wilder, for a bit there, we all thought, well, sounds like he's done with boxing. But no, if you watched him at the news conference, if you take him at his word, seems rejuvenated, seems like this kicked him in the pants, and he realizes, no, boxing's not done with me yet, and I'm not done with it. And this is the last chance saloon for both of them. Truly, the loser goes home. So the stakes suddenly, between both these guys coming off unexpected losses, it's suddenly a meaningful fight. And PBC loans out Wilder to the Matchroom team. Who knew? And what a turn of events after all of the back and forth some years ago between Eddie Hearn and Deontay Wilder, who apparently turned down a big money offer at the time to fight for Matchroom. Well, here they are, making nice. You know, that money is a wonderful social lubricant. That's how it goes. And then there's some other great matchups, mostly British fighters, but not entirely. I will note that among the fighters, there are no women's fights. That was pointed out. Be that as it may, it's Saudi Arabia. It's not horribly surprising. But there is somewhat of a tournament situation with these fights. They are considered teams. In addition to their normal wins, losses, or draws, they are going to earn points in sort of a grudge match between the two promoters' teams. And they each get to pick a team captain whose fight counts for double the points. And again, what a surprise that Eddie Hearn chooses Deontay Wilder as the team captain for Matchroom. Um, so it'll certainly help defray the cost of the pay-per-view, which truthfully, everybody's in it to see the main event. A fight that everybody has wanted to see for some time, and we're finally going to get it. A unification, undisputed fight in the light heavyweight division.
That's the main thing for me, Daniel. The fact that Beterbiev and Bival, to Gail's point, has been talked about for so long. We finally get to see it. That's the highlight of this. I know Wilder is kind of the wild card, quote unquote, but as far as I'm concerned, Beterbiev, Bival, let's do it. Unmute your mic, Daniel.
Exactly. This is, unfortunately, yeah, it has to be done with blood money, but in many ways, it could be the only way that it can be done. Unfortunately, because I think I saw somebody tweet this that seen Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren legitimately work on a card together was probably the greatest achievement in the UK since the Good Friday Agreement, which kind of says something to how frosty the relations were between Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. But it's an interesting card, particularly on the heavyweight side. Obviously, Daniel Dubois and Philip Kurgovich, you have a situation where it may be for a vacant belt unless something else happens. And then you have the main key matchup, Wilder versus Yang. Now, the main reason I could probably see it as like a loser leaves town type of match is mainly because of Zhang's age. And so he doesn't have a lot of more opportunities. But Wilder, this is his legit last chance. He can ill afford to actually mess this up. Now, can he handle another comparably sized southpaw that has a bit of punching power? That's a little bit slick. I don't know. That's the part that's interesting. Yeah, Zhang's not going to try to Klitschko him the way Fury did. But at the same time, Zhang knows time is of the essence. And it's really, really tough to get out of sometimes of the mental hurdles that you put yourself in. And that's the situation that's facing Wilder in this card. Now, the rest of the card actually is fairly interesting. Nick Ball's actually going to be an interesting fighter to look into when it comes to this one. He says it's all focused. Now, whether or not we see it, everything come to fruition, we don't know. We've seen these Saudi cards sometimes fall apart. So, but it would behoove all 10 fighters involved to make sure that nothing bad really happens when it comes to lead up in this fight. Because from what I've seen, the Saudis don't like to at least keep everything in one fight. If one fight moves out of the way, everything moves away. They don't move forward with another set. So everybody has to be in their P's and Q's for this one.
My bad, my bad. I was on mute. My apologies. While there's not a women's fight on this particular card, right? There is going to be a women's fight and a significant women's fight. I'm not going back to you on this one, Daniel, and you can follow up, Gail. Taking place in July in Texas. Long awaited rematch between Taylor and Serrano is going to take place. Interesting thing is, it's going to happen at 140 pounds. So Serrano is going to move up. She's fighting. She fights at. She returned back to featherweight since their first fight, right? So she's going to move up a lot of weight. I think the onus, the emphasis, is on her, right? Given the fact that she had her last fight canceled because of eye injury. Given, as far as I'm concerned, she hasn't shown the power that she did when during their first fight. Fantastic battle took place April 2022, Madison Square Garden. One of the best fights that you will ever see, men, women. Taylor's moved up to 140, had two really good battles with Chantel Cameron. She beat Cameron to become undisputed champion at 140 in their bout in November, I believe it was. Um, your thoughts on this? Though this is happening, what, just 2 years after their first fight, could it be a case of a little bit too little, too late for both women?
Well, to catch, it's a little bit too late if you're trying to catch right off the forward how everything was shaped up in leading up to how the first fight was, because that was one of the best fights of the year. And remember, you kind of felt that the next fight had to be rushed quickly. You felt that Amanda had to avenge her win, but obviously injuries happen, and Kate Taylor got offered a boatload of money for Chantel Cameron, and unfortunately, it wound up with Chantel Cameron winning. And then now you had this situation with Serrano and her eye. So it is a little bit too late if you want to look at it, a little bit too late in that sense. But in a many way, this is a good way to have these women try to go out with a bang, because we have to remember this is the co-main, and well, we should consider it the actual main event
Quote
to
unquote, because it's not, as far as I'm concerned.
no the Serrano no Serrano Taylor 2 is the real main event. And then we're gonna have Mike Tyson degrade himself in the walk-off bout. I'll leave it there in that front. What's it what's probably interesting is the fact that it got put into this position and then it gets put in its own main event. And that's really, really telling that for obviously, like I said, for the farce that's supposed to be the main event, that this fight, which could get a main event on the zone, Serrano Taylor 2 could fill Dublin. You could fill the Garden again. Hell, you could fill any arena in the New York area. You could fill the Amway Center in Orlando. You could even take the fight to Puerto Rico, and you still sell out there. A fight that has that potential to settle alone, you have to put it into this, which kind of tells you the state of the lack of support, let's say, for the farce that's supposed to be in the main event of this. I'm glad both of these fighters, I'm glad that Serrano is getting her chance to avenge her win. I will die on that hill. And these ladies have to show out. They have to show out because they may be the only saving force in that night.
Your thoughts on this fight, Gail? The fact that it's happening, the rematch is happening, and do you agree with Daniel's assessment that while he's glad it's taking place, is kind of a sad indictment that it's going to be in this environment on this particular card when it really should be a main event where both ladies should have the opportunity to really be spotlighted?
That would be nice. that it's certainly feasible. But listen, women's professional sports at all levels, as we are witnessing here lately, um, takes what it can get, to be dead honest with you. And there was some discussion not long ago that this fight might possibly end up as the first combat sports event at the Sphere in Las Vegas. Now, that got my attention. And that would have been a tremendous event to christen that facility. Well, it didn't come to pass. But listen, you got to do the best with what you got to work with. And there is no doubt, whether purists, hate on this appearance on the, it's the combing to a celebrity stunt fight. I get it. But it's going to be a massive audience in Texas, a massive audience watching on pay-per-view. What, as purists, we can all, whine and criticize and mope about it, but it is going to get eyeballs on it. And that's not the worst way for these two accomplished women to go out. Serrano really intended to finish her career at the card that she was in the main event, scheduled in the main event in Puerto Rico here a couple months ago, when she had a just bizarre injury take her out. Eye damage due to hair salon chemicals. I mean, who would have picked that on their boxing bingo card? Nobody. So I think she wants to get on to her MMA career. That's where she wants to go next. And she's going to manage, thank God, to get this rematch in. I think we need to be glad it got accomplished in whatever manner it did, and take the good that's coming from this, which is it's going to be out there in front of a huge audience, and both the ladies deserve that.
In light of what we saw, that was the NCAA women's basketball tournament and the record numbers that it received, particularly the Final Four and the championship game, right, between Iowa and South Carolina, drew significantly more numbers than the men's tournament. That final was one of the, from a ratings perspective, one of the biggest events of this year, right? It would have been nice that Taylor Serrano too could get a certain level of push where it could be kind of bounce from that, can piggyback off of that and have a similar type of number, not in terms of actual numbers, but significant, similar type of attention in a boxing context, much in the same way that you saw from their first fight. My fear is you're not going to get it, and that's disappointing. It is. Let's move on to some other news, right? Boots Ennis. This took place during our time off last week. Signed with Showtime. Been a lot of back and forth reactions to this. Some felt that this was a good move for Ennis. Others felt that this was a bad move. Ennis at the announcement said that his goal is to become undisputed at 147 pounds. Some have responded by saying, okay, how are you going to accomplish that moving over to Matchroom when all of the quote unquote talent that remains at welterweight still happening at 100, still over at his former home at PBC. On the other hand, others are saying that with Boots now with Matchroom, that opens him up for more fights, particularly maybe a fight with a Devin Haney down the line. I'll go to you, Gail. Your thoughts on Ennis signing with Matchroom?
It's a good move for him. Ennis has kind of been a free agent. He was not a PBC fighter. He was signed to an organization called Now Boxing.
You're right. Correction. His fights were on PBC.
They were on
I stand
PBC, and
corrected.
now was not really acting as a promoter. They were acting more as an agent, and not a real good one. Not great. So this is a positive move, a good step forward. Eddie Hearn and Matchroom have been willing to play nice with other promoters for the most part. Um, so this is going to get Boots a little more active and somebody behind him who can, you know, push things a little bit. Let's hope that he can move Boots' career along. It's really been stalled. Um, the best thing he can do is stay busy. Again, a little bit like we talked about with Anderson, take the best opponents possible, that are available. They may not be the fights we really, really want. It doesn't matter. He just needs to keep Boots Ennis busy. So if he can get him in the ring at least twice this year, if not 3 times, job well done.
I think that was one of the keys, one of the reasons why he signed with Matchroom because he hasn't fought since what summer last year. Been wanting a fight with Terrence Crawford. Daniel, he wasn't going to get it. We all know that. Crawford is going to move up to 140 pounds, and he's teasing about when and more importantly where his next fight will be. He's teasing that. He's been teasing that on Twitter all day long, right? So. With Crawford out, it can be argued that Ennis is the best at 147 pounds. If Hearn can get him, keep him active, and more importantly, if he can get him in some unification fights and get him to undisputed status, many people would consider that a win.
It's a good move for Ennis in the sense of the fact that he now finally has a good foundation of far as a promoter going to, because sometimes going on your own, and if you're PBC and you're not fully dedicated to Al Heyman, yeah, they make your life, they don't exactly make your life easy, especially in the division that they had pretty much a semi-monopoly on, the way they had with welterweight. Now it's a different case. So first, with the undisputed front, we really have to see where Bud is actually going to show, because with supposedly the Fundora Zoo rematch being the plan, that doesn't leave Bud with a dance partner. So maybe he thinks he can go to back down to 147 and do the thing he wasn't able to do at 140, which is defend the belts. But obviously he's stripped of one. So that would be an interesting fight to have, and it would be a fight that people would love to see. The biggest problem, unfortunately, I think, and this is going to face when it becomes so undisputed, is going to be if Bud decides to fully go 154. How are the belts going to be broken up? Because there are some good opponents, there are some good fighters that may be willing to step up and actually get some time to belts and maybe away from Matchroom. So we have to see. But it's good to always have a good solid foundation. So, and not just going on your own can sometimes work, as we're probably going to talk about in when we do the previews. But a lot of times it doesn't.
It's expected that Ennis's debut is going to be, I believe, in July. Um, any word on who his a debut opponent could be for Matchroom? I know Connor Ben posted something on IG teasing folks about a possible fight between him and Ennis. Who knows? Any ideas? Any word? What have you been? What have y'all? Excuse me, been hearing on these boxing street about Boots Ennis' debut with Matchroom. Who will it be against?
That's a little early. Anything you hear now is just chatter. But Connor Ben is certainly out there needing dance partners, and he can't get fights in Great Britain right now. He's fighting out of Las Vegas. So that's certainly a possibility. As to the welterweight belts, I do think that Crawford's going to give those up. It's going to be easier for him to give them
I
up.
mean, have you seen him? He looks like he's
Oh,
about 170, 180.
I don't think he looks that big, but he's certainly not walking around at 150. I'll tell you that much. And you've got a lot of interim and regular and gold champions of some of those other belts. This upcoming fight, for example, for Stanionis on the Canelo undercard, he would be elevated, assuming he wins that title. You're going to see the rest sort of scattered around. Virgil Ortiz is currently the WBA gold champion under Crawford's, WBA super. Of course, you got Stanionis holds the WBA world title. So you have some interesting things going on there. Maybe we finally get that Stanionis Ortiz fight if Stanionis
That would be a
wants
good matchup.
if Ortiz wanted to come down. Now that's the problem. I don't think he will. So
I like standing on it.
we're gonna see some mixing and matching, and then you also, Mario Barrios holds an interim title. Yes, the WBC interim. A French fighter has the WBO global belt, and his name slips my mind. Yeah, and Boots is the one that's sort of directing business for the IBF. So those belts will all scatter, and that is inherently healthy that they don't get held hostage forever. And Crawford will move up and look for new challenges. Good for him.
Stanionis and Ennis, I wouldn't mind seeing that fight. Competitive. I don't think Ennis would just wipe the floor with him. I actually think Stanionis is a really good fighter. Yeah, let's. They should have fought by now. I thought they was going to fight toward the fall, winter last year.
Stanionis has been.
Let's see that happen.
Let us see it. And the word is that Crawford is going to be teed up for this summer sometime for a fight in Saudi Arabia against Israel Madrimov, who had an excellent win on the last Saudi card. And Turkey Al Sheikh is a big fan. Madrimov is a Muslim Uzbeki out of the Joel Diaz gym in Indio. And that makes a whole lot of sense all around, both skill level, talent level. He deserves that opportunity. He's worked for it. And the players are in the right place at the right time. And certainly the money will be right.
Indeed. Let's move on to, I guess, the preview was happening this weekend. And this is one fight I want to focus on, and that is Devin Haney making the first defense of his of the WBC 140-pound title against Ryan Garcia is going to happen. New York, and yeah, I'll get the whoever wants to jump in do so, because the pre-fight shenanigans, actions, behavior of Garcia has really swamped the conversation from any and everybody in the boxing community, including today during the public workout, where the behavior of Garcia really tightened, wound up. Either he's trolling or doing a masterful job of trolling, or there's some real issues going on here that has you concerned, for lack of a better word.
Ryan Garcia's track record, with various personal issues is troubling. No question about it. And we're not really going to know, out of all the theories we've heard over the last few weeks and all of the behavior we've witnessed, up to including today's media workout, which if you haven't seen it, better you go see it with your own eyes and assess for yourself. It is on the DAZN YouTube channel, DAZN Boxing. Look for Haney versus Garcia Open Workouts live stream. Ryan appears real near the beginning, and yeah, he's wound up. He's lit up. He's got a lot to say. Not a lot different other than declaring that he's going to take care of business with Devin Haney. He looks huge, making weight. Whoa, he didn't
no
look
way.
anywhere
No way.
near 140. Nowhere
He doesn't
near
look.
it.
He looks like he's about 150.
I get it. It's okay. It's Wednesday and he's got 48 hours and maybe he's just not got an ounce of fat on him. But, I would not bet any of my hard-earned money that he's going to make it on the scale. Now, how close is he going to get? We don't know. Devin Haney, on the other hand, has just come up to 140. In his last fight, his very first outing at junior lightweight, he looked sensational. I was
Junior
ringside
welter.
for that fight, and watching it from your vantage point at home is one thing. Being there and watching him completely disarm a very good fighter in Regis Prograis and avoid anything coming at him and essentially humiliate him was astonishing, frankly. So he is settled in, feeling very comfortable at this weight. All his skill set has come up with it. He's already tested himself, so he knows how he feels at this weight. And everybody knows that Devin rehydrates like crazy. Ryan certainly will. So, honestly, to call it a junior lightweight fight is rather silly.
Both guys are going to be about 160 by the time
Both
they
going to
enter
be
the ring.
middleweights at the very least. At the least. But as long as it's even, as long as the playing field's even, that's fine. I have a really hard time seeing any route to victory for Ryan Garcia. Behavior aside, the way Haney took care of business against Prograis, all he has to do is rinse and repeat against Garcia. Yes, I understand. Garcia's left hook power is real. He has dug himself out of some pretty big holes with it in the last few years. And he does have speed, although coming up in weight, that certainly could be affected. He has also said numerous times, including at today's workout, that he and Derek James have been focused on adding new tools, adding right-hand power, and that he's going to be ready. He's going to destroy Devin Haney. Yeah, I hear all that. Here's the problem. For Ryan to have any effect with those punches, he has to actually find Devin Haney and hit him. Haney is becoming very difficult to find in the ring. Prograis couldn't get to him. I don't think Garcia is going to get to him. But in the meantime, Devin Haney is going to get to Ryan. Now, he's got plenty of power to make someone, he can put a hurt on somebody. It is not one punch power, certainly, but get a look. If you don't really recall this, go back and look at some of the post-fight interviews. Go back and look at Regis Prograis after Haney took care of business with him. He
That's
was
right.
a destroyed mess.
That's
Absolutely
right.
terrible. Haney did not have a mark on him. Garcia will not get to Haney. Haney will completely disarm Garcia of any tools, of any weapons he's got, and take care of him. So the question is only going to be, how's it going to end? How is it going to end? Is Garcia going to struggle across the finish line through the 12th round? I'm just not sure he can do that with Haney coming at him. I think either Haney will roll up enough damage that Garcia just can't continue. And if he's making a valiant effort to continue and that happens, well, that's probably the best of the worst case scenario. It's possible the referee will step in. I do not know who the New York State Athletic Commission has assigned as the referee yet. If anybody does, put it in the comments for our live show. It's possible a referee is going to see Garcia getting punished and decide at some point, yeah, you know what, there's really no point in letting this go on. He steps in. The other thing that Ryan knows how to do and has done is decide there's no point in continuing the fight. You can call it a no mas. You can call it a quit. You could call it a calculated decision to preserve himself from any further damage when there's no point to continue on to the next fight. But it would not surprise me at all if after round 8, 9, 10, Ryan decides not to come out for the round to follow. And
Just
maybe Ryan quits in the corner, and maybe Ryan quits on his professional boxing career after this. Hard to say.
I mean, just the way he's acting, you just don't know what you're going to get from him, Daniel. And just looking at this fight, at all angles, on the surface, below the surface, Haney is the better fighter. He's shown that to be the case throughout their careers, unless Garcia, to Gail's point, lands with a big left hook, is able to hurt him. You just don't see a real scenario outside power in which Ryan can get to this guy. Just from the looks of it, Haney's going to outbox him and going to outbox the mess of him. The only question is, at this new weight at 140 pounds, where he showed power against Rougarou, can he get a stoppage?
That's the key question. That's always going to be the key question, considering just how let's be blunt, how unhinged Ryan Garcia has been looking in the lead up to this fight. This fight week, let alone the insanity that is his Twitter feed. So we don't really know if he's mentally there. And you cannot be nobody there 100%. Nobody's home against the caliber of fighter of Devin Haney. You just can't. And that's the thing, unfortunately, with Ryan right now. Yes, he has left hook power, and yes, his hand speed is still the key factor into it. But the problem is, Haney's has the better footwork as far as defense, and he has the better jab. So Ryan may not
He's
be
even
able
a better
to use that hand
inside
speed.
fighter. He's even a better inside fighter, and Haney doesn't have the reputation of being an inside fighter.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Like Haney, on a skill level, has been above Garcia. Everybody kind of figured that was going to be the case. And you don't really know how that's going to shape up when you have somebody in Ryan that, like I said, we're watching him unravel. We're literally watching him mentally unravel in the span of a week. We don't, and there's legit concern that he may not even make it to the weigh-in on Friday. So this could all be for now, which is actually should be good for the good folks at Barclays that didn't sell tickets, because there's plenty still available, folks. Because that was one of the biggest problems in this whole lead up to this fight. The prices for this fight were so high that guy that ran in New York State for governor that's saying the rent's too damn high, he has a point. Except now the price is too damn high. I don't see a path for Ryan to win this fight. Like I said, it's hard for me to see a path for Ryan to make weight the way he's looking.
Right.
But if he does, if he makes it past the weigh-in, there isn't a viable path outside of him catching Haney with a left hook that you can see that actually can lead him to victory at this stage, which unfortunately, after losing to Tank the way he did, even though he was starting to come back into that fight with Tank, losing the way he did, unfortunately, has created a situation where an impactful loss, which this would be an impactful loss, that could legit be the end of the road for him. And part of me wants that. And I'm not saying that just because, like, oh, you're a fan of Devin Haney, you don't like Ryan Garcia. No, it may actually be the best thing for him mentally in the long term.
In other words, hitting rock bottom before he can really, wake up and look in the mirror and have a come to Jesus meeting with himself.
Yeah, because right now, unfortunately, and I am including Bernard Hopkins and Oscar on this, and it's hard for me to include Bernard Hopkins in this. Ryan Garcia right now is being surrounded by nothing but enablers. People that are people that are not letting him, not telling him, hey, you are acting crazy. Maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you should go away for a while. Get yourself checked out. If you have to go to therapy, go to therapy. If you need treatment, go to treatment. You don't need to do this. And it may lead into a path where he leaves more broken now than he ever will be.
Well,
And I think we're going to go ahead, Gail.
I'm just going to
Final
add,
word.
and folks, after we end the show tonight or whenever you are listening at a later time, truly go look at the media workout hosted by DAZN Boxing on Wednesday, April 17th. And after Ryan Garcia blasts his way through an interview with Ale Oladipo, Chris Mannix, and Sergio Mora, with Sergio just looking on in astonishment, honestly, Bernard comes to the mic. I think Bernard has decided there's not a lot more he can do at this point. And you have to remember, Bernard Hopkins in his day was the king of trash talk. That man knew how to get inside somebody's head and live there rent-free before a fight. He was absolutely
Just ask Trinidad.
Yes, exactly. Just ask Trinidad. So Bernard gets the strategy of acted a bit crazy. So he's got some interesting things to say about his take on Ryan's behavior the last few months and how much of it is playing the heel, confusing his opponent, the smokescreen. But he also owns up to how much of it is things Ryan truly believes and thinks. Golden Boy's problem is this. One of the few fighters making them money, keeping them alive, is Ryan Garcia. They haven't quite found a replacement for Canelo. Ortiz isn't there yet. Zurdo Ramirez is finally, I think, giving them some hope. They've got a lot of good prospects. But right now, it's not enough. And with Ryan still in the fold, they're going to try to get what they can out of him as long as Ryan is willing. On Ryan's end of the equation, many of you have probably heard this, he is the breadwinner for his entire family, including his parents and siblings. And that's a lot of pressure for a young man, in addition to having fathered children and having some other obligations. And he talks. One of the things that does ring true about today's media workout is talking about some of the pressures he's experienced. how he's handling those, how you think he's handling those, and how he's going to handle the pressure on Saturday, we're going to leave that to you. And that's all I've got to say for tonight.
And I think we're going to end this episode on that note. Thank you for taking care of that business in the public chat. I appreciate it, Gail. Um, for those who are listening on YouTube, please make sure you hit that like button. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, it'll help the overall algorithms. Um, go to the panel here. Begin the show with ladies first. Going to end the show with ladies first. Gail from nyfights.com. For those who want to talk boxing with you, let the folks know where they can find you.
Well, the site for our content is nyfights.com. You can find me at PR Pro San Diego or Google that name, search that name. I promise you, there's only one of me out there. And you're welcome to talk me up during fight night. And I will be doing the recap, although not in Brooklyn. We will have our boss, Michael Woods, there ringside for Haney Garcia, and he will give you all the lowdown.
Now, go to you, Daniel, for those who want to talk boxing, for those who want to talk pro wrestling, for those who want to talk all things Miami Heat. I know you endured during this particular episode as the Heat lost a nail biter to the Philadelphia 76ers 105 to 104. For those who want to talk again, boxing, pro wrestling, the Miami Heat, let the folks know where they can hit you up.
Yeah, that was a tough one, but same handle, no matter where you go, whether it's Twitter, Threads, Mastodon, Blue Sky, Rocks99, RWKZ99. Definitely catch me on there. And yeah, it's a repeat of last year. I think we have like the loser leaves town game afterwards between the winner of Chicago and Atlanta. That's going to be fun. But you know what? It's if it means a matchup with the Celtics, and I'll take my chances with the Celtics, honestly. But hopefully, folks, hopefully we don't see a mental breakdown on Friday. Hopefully we see a good fight because there's still plenty of tickets available. And one bad things when it comes into boxing is seeing a fight that should get a lot more buzz in general, not get as much buzz.
Indeed. For those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness, you know what it is with me on Twitter because I refuse to call it X. Brother JR, at Brother JR76 for those who want to talk boxing, music, fitness, and fragrance, including my scent of the day, as well as a recent video of a fragrance haul. You can do so. IG, TikTok, Brother JRSC. On the next episode, we will have a recap of Haney and Ryan Garcia. Arnold Barboza Jr., highly ranked 140 pounder. He's fighting on that card as well, fighting Sean McComb. We may talk about that fight as well. Also do a preview of Jose Ramirez fighting Rances Bartholomew, April 27th in Ramirez's hometown of Fresno, California. On the undercard, Virgil Ortiz fighting Tomas Delorme in a 10-round junior middleweight contest. Trying to see. There's a card over in England. We may talk about it. Peter McGrail, Beatrice Ferreira, decorated women's amateur, fighting for the vacant IBF women's lightweight title. We may touch into that. But the crux will be a recap of Haney Garcia as well. Let's talk about the card in Fresno. That Fresno card is going to be on the zone. Again, I want to thank everybody who joined us. For Gail, for Daniel, this has been episode 442 of the Pound for Pound Box Report. We will see you guys next time. Everyone have a good evening. Good night.